Like many of you, I checked out of the MCU after having been a huge fan of most of it through Avengers Endgame, so I've had no use for any of the steaming piles of crap Disney has produced over the last few years. But even I had to take a shot on Deadpool and Wolverine, right? Was it worth coming out of hibernation and heading to the local theater? Well, yeah.
Mostly.
See you on the other side. Before we get started with Deadpool and Wolverine, I need to tell you that I love the first Deadpool movie. I just love it. In fact, I brought Mrs. Baby to see it on opening night for an early Valentine's Day date back in 2016 in a crowded theater, and we, like everyone in the place, laughed our asses off the entire night. It was a huge breath of fresh air for superhero flicks at the time. Kind of like the way the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie was, except this felt more like an indie movie because it kind of was. Well done, but with rough edges. Not the overly slick sheen the MCU had at that point. This indie feel was only heightened by the outrageous lengths the team went to go hard on the language, sex, and violence. Again, setting it apart from the MCU and everything else at the time with their tame PG-13 ratings. But in my mind, there was always something more to this little movie than that. Truth is, it had a ton of heart and was driven by an actual love story that tied the whole thing together, and it's what really made the movie work for me. You genuinely cared about Wade and Deadpool because you knew deep down he at least loved Vanessa. Sure, they were both messed up, but his crazy matched her crazy. When he learned about his terminal cancer and she started talking to the doctor about plans A, B, all the way through Z, he was trying to memorize the details of her face, like it's the first time he's seeing it, or the last. This connection the two of them share is what forces him to leave her so that she doesn't have to watch him wither away, and it's what ultimately leads him to Francis's workshop in the first place, in an attempt to rid himself of the cancer so he can be with Vanessa. Their love story is what drives every action in that movie.
That's a good point.
Deadpool 2 is also driven by their love story, though in a slightly different way. There, his actions lead to one of the bad guys coming to their home and killing Vanessa, and Wade being unable to save her just as she's told him she wants to start a family. Regardless of whatever else happens in the movie, the driving force is again Vanessa and his desire to get back to her. Though this time to die to be with her. Both movies are grounded and made better by this being what makes Wade go. Which brings me back to Deadpool and Wolverine. We start with Deadpool telling the audience that his world is about to end and the only one that can help him is Wolverine. Problem is, we all saw Wolverine die in Logan, but Deadpool isn't convinced until he digs up his corpse and then uses it to kill a metric shit ton of guys, making for another fantastic opening credit scene. But how did it all come to this? Well, since last we got a Deadpool movie over 6 years ago, Wade interviewed with Happy to try and become an Avenger and was turned down, and the rejection was devastating. He eventually became so pathetic, Vanessa left him, and now he's been reduced to selling cars with Peter from X-Force. At a birthday party for Wade, he's taken prisoner by a group of guys from the TVA. Now, I'm assuming these guys have been introduced in one of the various shitty Marvel multiverse movies or Disney Plus shows that have been shat out recently, but who knows? Either way, a guy called Paradox tells Wade that he's pulled him out of his universe because it's dying because its anchor being is dead. In this case, the anchor being was Logan, but because Paradox likes Deadpool, he's giving him a shot to be free of his dying universe and he can join a new one. The sacred timeline, which is clearly just meant to be the MCU timeline. He's giving him a chance to matter. Right, but all the people Wade cares about back in his universe will die, and he can't have that. So he steals a bullshit device from Paradox and goes out looking for help, in the form of another universe's Wolverine. Now, some of the best stuff happens here, watching Deadpool pop into and out of various universes and dealing with Wolverine variants. Some are hilarious, and there's a cameo in there which is really fun. He finally finds a Wolverine which he's able to drag back with him to the TVA offices. Turns out, his big plan is to take this Wolverine, stick it back into his universe to fix everything. Well, the thing is, he grabbed a shitty Wolverine that's not really a hero in his world, so his plan's not gonna work.
Not a great plan.
And before he and Wolverine can wreck shop in the TVA offices, Paradox hits him with a cattle prod thing and sends him to the Wasteland, which is essentially where all the old Fox Marvel characters ended up when their movie franchises ended or after Disney bought them. The bulk of the movie takes place here, and Deadpool and Wolverine run around looking for help and a way out, and fighting with each other non-stop the entire time. We're treated to some really funny and nostalgic cameos of old Fox Marvel heroes, and the interactions between them are great. Eventually, Deadpool and Wolverine do get back to the TVA and have to help stop the villain from the wasteland from gaining access to the Time Shredder MacGuffin thing and destroying all known universes and leaving only the wasteland. Will our heroes save the day? Yeah, of course, this is now the MCU. And that's pretty much the end of the movie. So, what to make of all this? Well, it's a hell of a lot of fun in most places. Ryan Reynolds, despite now having played basically the same guy in dozens of movies, is still arguably the best cast actor in any superhero movie. As Deadpool, he's still killing it on screen. It's a damn shame we lost all those years between Deadpool 2 and this one. You can just tell how much the guy loves playing the character and how protective he is of it. And at this point, hell, that's reason enough to support anything. Likewise, even though I've said it many times, I never liked the casting of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine because he's just way too tall. He's still awesome in the role though. We kind of always knew that they would, but they make a tremendous duo with Deadpool never shutting up and Wolverine being irritated the entire time. Getting to see them fight multiple times was a ton of fun, and honestly, I'd have paid full price just to see a Wolverine in a comic-accurate costume just once. Toward the end of the movie, he even pulls down the cowl, and it is amazing to finally see after nearly 25 years of waiting. And that's the thing. As much fun as the movie was, this is really the takeaway. There's just not much else here other than that kind of fan service. Now, I know that sounds bad, and it kind of is, but hear me out. Think back to the first two movies again. What drove Deadpool's actions was his love for Vanessa. Sure, they tried to make it about Russell or his family in the second movie, but it was always her. His first move once he used Cable's time turner thing was to go and save Vanessa. But here, she already left him. He's a shell of himself. He's not doing these things to win her back, though he does tell her at the end that he did it for her. He keeps telling people it's to save the only people he loves. It just never feels like a good enough reason to move forward. Had they not decided to make him pathetic and have Vanessa leave him, his desire to save her would have been more than enough motivation for him to do what he does in the movie. Without it, though, it's harder to know why he didn't take Paradox's offer. Besides, his family's missing people. I'll just go ahead and assume no one wants to work with TJ Miller anymore at this point, and that's why he's not here. But him not being there despite being Wade's best friend for 2 movies is a real loss. As is not seeing Cable, who decided to stick around after the last movie. Or Russell. Or hell, Domino. Secondly, the plot just screams MCU bullshit. Now, I do get that part of it is precisely because they're making fun of the multiverse stuff, but this is yet another MCU movie that not only is about saving the universe, but this time, all universes. Think back to the first Deadpool movie and what made it so good. It was small. The stakes were understandable. The villain there had turned Deadpool into a monster and he wanted him to fix him. Here, you could stick any other hero in here at this point and have the same plot. You're also served up tons of Disney CGI crap, which makes the entire thing feel way more like a run-of-the-mill MCU outing than either of the first Deadpool movies.
Wasn't a compliment.
But hey, look, truth is, none of that matters here. I'd pay to watch Deadpool and Wolverine just sit and argue for 90 minutes with occasional knockdown, drag-out fights tossed in every so often, and so would you. And the good news is you get all you can handle of that here. Plus, the playfulness and the way they tackle the old Fox stuff is worth it too. Off the top of my head, you get to see Wesley Snipes as Blade, Jennifer Garner as Elektra, a handful of the actors from the various Fox X-Men movies, both young and old over the years, and you even get a Chris Evans appearance, though as a foul-mouthed Johnny Storm from Fantastic Four and not Cap, and all of it works. A highlight for me and for our theater, being as though I'm in South Louisiana, was Channing Tatum finally getting to play Remy LeBeau's Gambit. Him doing his over-the-top New Orleans Cajun accent was really funny, and everyone had a good laugh. Add to it the jokes about him not having had a chance to do anything since he'd never actually been cast to play the role, and Deadpool constantly talking about how no one could understand him was just Lastly, there's a mid-credit scene that's a callback to a scene in the movie where Deadpool looks up a video of something Johnny Storm had done when they'd been captured in the wasteland, which is funny as hell. And then after that, there's a highlight video of a bunch of Fox X-Men behind-the-scenes stuff over the years, played to Green Day's Good Riddance, Time of Your Life, which is kind of a love letter to those movies. So yeah, in the end, Deadpool and Wolverine is totally worth it. It's definitely my least favorite of the 3 Deadpool movies, and one I'll probably forget except for a handful of scenes pretty soon after this review, but given what we've gotten recently out of Marvel, this is just a surefire home run. It's amazing, really, when you give people what they want. I'd love to have them find a reason to have Deadpool and Wolverine buddy up again soon. Hell, I'd pay to see that in a heartbeat. That said, no, sorry. This is in no way saving the MCU at this point. But do go enjoy this one and remember when things used to be fun. It's definitely worth your time. At best, Deadpool and Wolverine is just a death rattle for the MCU, which kind of makes sense. It's Deadpool after all. Until next time, thanks for watching.